My stepmother abused me for years. When I finally ran at 16, she told police I was abducted. My name's Kieran and I used to live in a quiet house with creaky stairs, burnt toast mornings, and a dad who, while never loud, was solid in the way trees are solid. Unmoving, reliable. That was before she moved in, before Marlene, before the woman who came into our lives and replaced oxygen with tension so thick it made the walls sweat. My mom died when I was 12. Car accident. Side impact collision on her way back from picking up groceries. I remember the receipt was still clutched in her right hand when the paramedics pulled her out. After that, Dad unraveled slowly, not all at once. It was the kind of unraveling that looked like survival to anyone watching from the outside. Meals made, rent paid, socks matched. But I could tell. He spoke less, smiled less, started drinking instant coffee instead of brewing it like he used to. We made it through a year, just the two of us. Then he met her. Marlene worked at the pharmacy down the street. She was blonde, loud, wore perfume that smelled like lilacs soaked in bleach and smiled like someone doing a job interview. Too wide, too fake, too fast. They started dating in the spring. By summer, she was over 3 nights a week. By fall, she'd moved in. And by winter, she stopped pretending to like me. The first thing she did was rearrange the living room, moved the armchair my dad sat in every night to make space for better energy, tossed out the family photo wall, replaced it with abstract pieces that looked like spilled coffee on canvas. "You're too old for toys, Kieran," she said first week in. I was 13. She threw out my Lego sets and boxed up my old action figures when I was at school. I came home and found a garbage bag on the curb, my name written on it in permanent marker. Dad said nothing. He just rubbed the back of his neck and muttered, "She's trying to help organize the place. Give her a chance." But she wasn't organizing, she was erasing, one room at a time. The first time she slapped me, it wasn't even loud. I was 14. I'd forgotten to rinse my plate before putting it in the dishwasher. She stormed into my room, face red, holding the plate like it was a weapon. "You think I'm your maid?" she snapped. Before I could answer, her hand cracked across my cheek. Not hard enough to bruise, just hard enough to make me shut up. She didn't yell, didn't follow it with a lecture, just stared at me for a second, then walked out. And I did what a lot of kids do when something happens they don't understand. I blamed myself. Maybe I was being disrespectful, maybe I should have said thank you more, maybe I deserved it, but it didn't stop. She slapped me again a month later for leaving a towel on the bathroom floor. Started calling me things like ingrate, parasite, and emo little shit. I wasn't even emo, I just stopped talking because talking made her notice me. She made sure I never had friends over. Told my dad I was failing classes when I wasn't. Once she shredded a birthday card my mom had written me before she died, one of the only things I had left of her, said it was junk mail and claimed she didn't know. But she did. She knew. And Dad, he saw it, I know he did. He saw the fear in my eyes when she raised her voice. He saw the way I flinched when her shadow crossed my bedroom door. He saw the silent bruises, the quiet, but he was tired and lost, and I think in some way grateful to have someone who took charge. He started echoing her words. "You need to try harder, Kieran. She's under stress too, you know." She didn't mean it like that. He said those things with a voice that sounded like it was dying quietly in his own throat, and so I stopped talking to both of them, a silent ghost in my own home. School was my only escape, not because I liked it, but because Marlene wasn't there. Until the day she came to pick me up. I was 15. I'd missed the bus. Office staff said she was my legal guardian. She showed up in a red minivan blasting 80s rock and made me get in. On the way home, she asked, "Do you ever think about your mom?" I nodded. "She would have hated me, huh?" I didn't answer. She turned the music up louder, then smiling. "She's dead now, so it doesn't really matter what she would have thought, does it?" That was the day I knew. She didn't just want to replace my mom, she wanted to erase her, and if I let her, she'd erase me too. I wish this story had a clean turning point, a moment where I stood up, spoke out, got justice, but real life doesn't always give you that. What I got instead was worse, because one night I woke up to my dad crying, whispering apologies in the dark. Marlene hadn't gone to bed yet, and I heard something crash. Not a dish, not furniture, something inside my father. It was 2:14 a.m. when I heard it, a muffled sob, then another, coming from the kitchen. At first I thought it was Marlene. She cried sometimes, loud theatrical sobs when she didn't get her way, or when the bank called about some overdraft error she never took responsibility for. But this sound wasn't hers, it was quiet, contained, almost like someone was trying not to be heard. I crept out of bed and tiptoed down the hall. The kitchen light was on, and there he was, my dad, still in his work uniform, kneeling by the dishwasher, head buried in his hands, whispering, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." His shoulders trembled. Next to him, a shattered plate lay on the floor, shards scattered like confessions. And sitting at the table, arms crossed, stone-faced like a judge in a courtroom, was Marlene. "You're lucky I don't call the cops," she hissed. "He threw it at me, Kieran. Did you see that?" He hadn't. I know he hadn't. He might have dropped it. Or maybe his hands shook too much from exhaustion. But throw it? My father barely had the strength to argue. She turned to me. "This is what you do to him. You and your silent little rebellion. You think you're the only one suffering in this house?" Dad didn't speak, didn't look at me, just reached for a dustpan with shaking fingers. I wanted to scream, tell her she was poison, tell him to wake up. But I was 15, and fear is a leash that tightens the more you pull. The next morning, he didn't go to work, stayed in bed. Marlene said he was sick. But when I peeked into the room, I saw him staring at the ceiling like it owed him an answer. That week, he started forgetting things, left the stove on twice, missed paying the water bill, got a warning from work for sleeping in his car during his lunch break. Marlene blamed me. He worries about you too much. That's why he's falling apart, she said. You're the weight around his neck. And the worst part? He didn't defend me, didn't correct her, didn't even look at me. He was slipping. And she was the one pushing. She changed the Wi-Fi password, told me if I wanted it, I had to do my chores properly and start being grateful. I stopped asking, stopped talking, just got through each day counting down hours until school or the next meal or sleep. Numbness became its own form of survival, but numbness doesn't protect you forever because sooner or later someone notices. That someone was Mr. Dreyer, my English teacher. He pulled me aside after class one day, said I looked tired, said I'd stop participating, asked if things were okay at home. And for the first time in months, I opened my mouth and said something close to the truth. I'm just tired, I told him. And something in the way I said it made him nod like he understood the weight beneath the lie. He gave me a book, The Outsiders, told me to read it and write my thoughts. But the book didn't change anything. What changed everything was the night I caught her dragging my dad's wallet out of his work pants while he was asleep. She didn't see me watching from the hallway, didn't hear the way I held my breath. She counted the cash, tucked a few bills into her bra and whispered, "Not like you'll miss it, sweetheart." She kissed him on the forehead, mocking, performative. Then she walked out like nothing happened. That night, I didn't sleep. Because I realized something I hadn't dared to before. It wasn't just me she was hurting. She was killing my father, slowly, quietly, systematically, and no one knew. No one wanted to know. The next day I tried to talk to him, waited until Marlene left for her yoga class that was probably a wine meetup with her toxic friends. I sat across from him, hands clenched. "Dad," I said, "she's stealing from you." He didn't look up, didn't flinch. "I saw her last night." Still nothing. "Why do you let her treat you like this?" I asked. And finally, he looked at me. His eyes were bloodshot, tired, but worse, hollow. "Because I can't lose someone again," he whispered. "She's all I have left." That sentence, it broke something in me because I realized in that moment I wasn't enough for him, not to fight for, not to stand up for, not even to protect. And I knew. If I didn't leave, if I didn't find a way out, I'd either become just like him or disappear completely. The first time I Googled emancipation, I had no idea what I was doing, just that I couldn't stay, couldn't keep pretending this was survivable. Problem was, I was 16. No job, no car, no adult who'd take me in. I messaged my cousin Jake in Queensland. We weren't close, but he'd always been decent to me at family gatherings, told him things were bad at home. He replied, "How bad?" I stared at that text for a long time. How do you explain bad when bad has become your baseline? That week, Marlene slapped me. It wasn't the first time, but it was the first time she did it while my dad was standing right there. All I'd said was, "I already cleaned the kitchen." She walked over, her wine glass still in hand, and cracked me across the face. The sound was louder than the sting. My head snapped sideways. Dad stood up, but he didn't move, didn't say anything, just froze. And that silence? That was the moment I knew. He'd given up. I took a photo of the bruise, sent it to Jake, no caption. 5 minutes later he called. "Pack your shit," he said. "I'm coming." I should have felt relief, but I didn't, because this was real now. Running, leaving Dad behind. I kept telling myself, he's already gone. You're just making it official. Jake was 8 hours away, said he'd pick me up Saturday night outside the train station. That gave me 3 days. I made a list: school bag, spare hoodie, USB stick with scanned ID, toothbrush, cash, the $47 I'd hidden behind my old Lego box. It wasn't much, but it was enough to feel like a plan. The day before I was supposed to leave, Marlene sensed something. She was always like that. Predator's instinct when control was slipping. "You've been quiet," she said, watching me eat. Eyes too sharp, smile too still. "New girlfriend?" I shook my head. She stared, then just walked off. But that night she went through my backpack. I know because I found the hoodie dumped on the floor, not how I'd packed it, and the USB stick was missing. I panicked, texted Jake, "She knows, we need to change the plan." He replied instantly, "Tell me where, I'll come tonight." I waited until they were asleep, slipped out the front door just after midnight. My phone had 18% battery. I walked 3 kilometers to the BP station near the highway, tried to stay in the light, tried not to think. At 1:06 a.m. a car pulled up. "Jake." I got in, shut the door, didn't cry, didn't speak, just breathed. For the first time in months, I breathed. We were halfway to the city limits when my phone buzzed. One new message from home. I'd renamed her contact months ago. Couldn't stand seeing her name. I opened it. Just one line. "You ungrateful little shit. You'll regret this." Jake glanced over at me. "You good?" I nodded. But something was wrong. Because 5 minutes later, blue lights flared in the rearview mirror. Police. Jake pulled over. A female officer approached the window. "Is everything okay here?" Jake said. "Yes, officer. I'm driving my cousin back to my place. His home situation is not good." She looked at me. "You Kieran Lowe?" My heart stopped. "Yes." She exhaled. "We got a call from your stepmother. She reported you abducted." For a moment I thought I'd be dragged back. But Jake was calm, explained everything, showed her the photo of my bruise, even handed over his phone with our messages. The cop stepped away, made a few calls, came back 10 minutes later. "You're not under arrest, but we do have to notify child services. Can you both follow us to the station?" It was 3:47 a.m. when I sat in a cold chair under fluorescent lights, sipping a vending machine coffee and waiting for a social worker. I felt sick, exposed, but I also felt seen. For the first time in my life, someone believed me. I thought I was finally free, but Marlene wasn't done with me. 2 days after the police station visit, I was staying in Jake's spare room. Everything felt fragile, like if I exhaled too hard the whole thing would collapse. But I was safe. Then Jake came into the room holding his phone. "You need to see this." It was a Facebook post. A photo of me and Marlene, at my 13th birthday party. Both smiling. The caption? "My stepson Kieran has run away from home and is being manipulated by troubled relatives. Please share, we just want him safe." In the comments, "Praying for your family. I saw him at BP last night, thought it looked like him. Sending love, stay strong mama." She was painting herself as the victim, and me as the problem. Child Services interviewed me the next day. I told them everything about the gaslighting, the threats, the slap, the silence from my dad. They nodded, wrote it down, but I could see it in their faces. No bruises, no police reports, no proof. "She's smart," I told them. "She never leaves a mark where it shows." They said I could stay with Jake temporarily, but it would take time to investigate. Time I didn't want to wait through. A week later, I came home from school and found my dad standing in Jake's driveway. He looked thinner, older, his shoulders slumped like the weight of everything had finally settled. "I didn't know," he said, his voice breaking. "I swear to God, Kieran, I didn't know how bad it was." I didn't answer because I wasn't sure what I felt. Anger? Relief? Grief? "I left her," he said. 2 nights ago. Packed a bag and went to a mate's place." He paused. "I want to fix things. I want you to come home. With me. Not with her." Jake stood behind me, arms crossed, watching, guarding. I looked at my dad. He looked like a man waking up after a decade-long coma. "I can't just forget it," I said. He nodded. "I'm not asking you to. I just want a chance to be your dad again." We didn't hug. It wasn't like the movies. But I didn't slam the door either. I let him talk. And for the first time in my life, he listened. Marlene messaged me 3 days later. A single line. "You're dead to me. No threats, no drama, just a final, sharp cut." I didn't reply. Didn't save the message. Just deleted it. And for the first time since I was 10, I slept through the night. Child Services closed the case a month later, said I was safe with my father. He got a tiny rental, barely big enough for one person, let alone 2. But he made space, bought me a bed, let me paint the walls whatever color I wanted. He even started seeing a therapist. So did I. We're not perfect. He still flinches when I raise my voice, and I still brace when I hear a wine glass clink, but we're trying. If you asked me then what survival looked like, I would have said running away. But now, it looks like rebuilding, like saying no when you're afraid, like telling your story when others would rather you stay silent. It looks like choosing yourself, over and over, until it finally starts to feel like home.